Hello and welcome to an episode of simple and hopefully quick dinners. I recently had a go at doing some lacto fermentation. So I did cauliflower with lemon peel and pink peppercorns, carrots and fresh ginger, baby plum tomatoes, and then some red and green chilies, and then whole cloves of garlic. And then most relevant to today's episode is red grapes with shallots. The flavour of that one is as weird as it sounds, but it's also delicious. Like really weirdly delicious. So it tastes like grapes, tastes like onions, but there's kind of the doing stuff to each other that's just glorious. So I knew I wanted to do a dish and have those on the side, and I kind of reverse engineered it a little bit. So I thought they're quite salty and tangy. So I thought I need something fatty and rich. So I'm gonna do mushrooms in a sherry butter sauce with some cheesy polenta and then have those on the side. I'm gonna put the polenta on now because that's gonna take about half an hour to cook. So I'll get that done and then it's out of the way. I'm using the same cup to do all of my measuring. So I've got 2 of water and I'm gonna do 2 of oat milk. So just let this come up to the boil. I'll talk you through the mushrooms. I got these mushrooms from the supermarket. They do these kind of punnets of speciality mushrooms. We've got shiitake, oyster, and I want to say maitake. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. And these have just got a really lovely texture to them. It's a little bit different than kind of white mushrooms, but do feel free to use anything you've got. When you've got your milk on the stove, be careful that you don't leave it like I just did, because it will boil everywhere, despite it not being dairy milk. I'm going to add 1 cup of polenta. So here's the polenta. It's coarsely ground corn. If you haven't used it before, I'll stick a little playlist together of all the recipes that I use that have polenta in them. But it's just a really versatile, great cupboard staple to have. The best way of putting the polenta in is to do it through your fingers, just to stop it forming any clumps. And get in there with a spoon. So let that cook for a couple of minutes, just so it starts thickening up. You can see already it's got some body to it. I'm going to pop the lid back on, turn this down a touch, and I'm going to put this on a back hob. So the polenta needs to cook out for about half an hour or so, but stir it every 5 minutes just so it doesn't stick on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to grate some vegan parmesan ready to go in the polenta, and that just gives it a lovely cheesy, salty flavour. So I've got a good sort of handful of grated parmesan there, vegan parmesan. And I'm going to add in a few slices of applewood smoked vegan cheese. So just break it down a little bit. All ready to go. It's going to be uber cheesy. So that's the polenta after about 5 minutes. Give the bottom of the pan a really good scrubbing. I'd looked online as a refresher on how to cook polenta, and it said half an hour. Just looked on the packet that I had taped onto the jar, and it says 3 to 5. So this must be like some sort of quick cook. Well, that puts a bit of a spanner in the works for me. Dollop in some butter, get it melty. And you'll notice I haven't got a chopping board or anything for this. It's going to be very quick. I'm just going to tear the mushrooms with my hands. Little ones like that, I'll leave. Big ones like that, I am going to just cut in half. And I've gone over everything with a paper towel just to get all any bits of dirt or anything off. And then these ones, just split that. Slide those into the butter. Get everything coated in butter so that nothing burns. Check on the polenta. At this stage, I'm actually going to start putting the other bits and pieces in. I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast just to boost up the cheesiness. And pop in the cheese. Because vegan cheese is made out of oils a lot of the time, I'm hoping that's going to kind of lubricate it a little bit. As the mushrooms cook, they start releasing all of their delicious juice, so you just want to keep cooking that out. And really we're looking for them to go slightly toasted on a couple of edges. I'm going to pop in a large pinch of dried thyme. It's probably about ½ a teaspoon, something like that. So you can see the mushrooms are starting to get a little bit golden. That's what we want. I'm going to do a couple of drops of soy sauce. I'm just using a couple because this is really strong. That's just for saltiness really. A bit of black pepper on the mushrooms. Should have done this earlier really, but I'm just going to drain the grapes. I'm just going to blot them with some paper towel because they're quite salty. I'm just going to check the polenta. It's been ages since I've done it wet. I usually make like chips out of it. So it's caught me off guard a little bit, but yeah, just perfect. Yeah, so the cheese has loosened it up a little bit. And then to make that into a sauce, I'm going to use sherry. So I've opted for quite a dry sherry, but you can get a medium one. That's going to be a little bit sweeter. Or you could use Madeira. That would be delicious as well. If you don't want any booze at all, you could use some vegetable stock, that kind of thing. That would work well. But this is, you know, it's one of those dishes that's best if you use booze. So I've been frying these on kind of a medium-high heat, and I'm now going to turn that down to medium and then go in with the sherry. Gone for a really nice liberal amount. Just let that bubble away. Oh, that smell, my goodness, that's delicious. So you want to cook that out for a few minutes, and that's going to burn off a lot of the alcohol. And then pop in a little bit more butter, just so it's a very sort of slightly thickened sauce. It's not going to be a gravy or anything. I'm going to make it more juicy, I've just decided. I want it slightly, I do want a kind of, not a gravy, but a bit more saucy so it sinks into the polenta. So I'm going to pop in some boiled water. So I'll put a little bit in. I've made a cornstarch slurry, so that's just cornstarch and water. Put in a couple of spoonfuls. The reason for doing a slurry is that if you put the dry cornstarch in, it's just going to go in clumps rather than a nice smooth liquid. That was too much. Touch more water. Touch more sherry. It's dinner time. I've never been so happy to see a mushroom. I'm absolutely ravenous. Have a go on that. Oh wow. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, that worked exactly as I wanted it to. In my mind, I'd planned for a bit more kind of saucy liquid on the mushrooms, but despite that, that's stunning. The flavors, oh, so the mushrooms are really deep and dark and deliciously umami. Then you've got the cheesy, comforty, smoky polenta. Oh, and then those pickles. Just adds a really kind of sweet, bright tanginess. And together, all of it is just, oh, that is for half an hour's worth of work. That's an incredible dinner. When I come to do the edit, I'll stick in the ratio if you want to make chips, polenta chips. All you do is put it into like a baking tray and let it go cold, and then you can slice it and then coat it in dry polenta and then bang it in the air fryer or in the oven, and then just make amazing little chompy snacks. Feel free to try different boozes in there, so sherry, vermouth, port, maybe even a stout would work quite well. For more 30-minute meals, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon, and that way you won't miss any.